Hello everyone, this is Red Bard, and this is the beginning of my Pyre Let's Play. It's also the beginning of my career trying to record myself playing video games, so I hope that the audio isn't too awful. I know that my microphone setup isn't the best, but I hope that I'm still understandable. So I decided to play Pyre to start all of this off, because it's a game that I know well, and it's a game that I'm good at, and so I can play it on the True Nightwing setting, which is the hardest difficulty, and so I can impress the people that like to see people being good at video games. And also, I can talk about the story, the characters, and overall be a charming narrator for those who just want to see a good and entertaining Let's Play. So we're going to go ahead and start in campaign mode. You can see that I have plenty of experience, but we're going to start a brand new game. We're going to go on to the True Nightwing setting. So the True Nightwing setting, for those who are not familiar, is sort of the hardcore mode. It is locked to the highest difficulty setting, Titan. In addition, the Titan stars are unlocked at the very beginning of the game, and these are extra challenges that you can take on that make a given match more difficult, but give you additional rewards for completing it successfully. It is also, like I said, kind of a hardcore mode, and so save scumming is disabled. The only way to save scum is to just shut the game down, completely exit it, Alt F4 type deal, which, of course, all of you will be able to see me doing, so it won't be something I engage with. And for those of you who are not familiar with Pyre, it's actually quite encouraged to not save scum. The game is structured so that the story is influenced by your wins and losses, and a loss is not a failure. It doesn't ruin the game, it just influences the story in a different way. And there are even story moments that are structured specifically to make you want to lose, because otherwise you might feel bad. So all of that being said, by starting on True Nightwing, this will not necessarily be a representative experience of a standard Pyre campaign. So keep that in mind, in the sense that normally many of these features are unlocked later. The Titan stars develop later in the game. The Feats of Glory, which are little micro-challenges you can complete for currency, as well as the Book of Rights and the White Loot, are things that you unlock and uncover over time, typically. The True Nightwing mode is a reward for players who have already finished the game, and so it kind of skips over a lot of that because we already know that it's coming. I will always put on subtitles. I will not put on aim assist. Well, actually, I think I will, in the sense that I do struggle sometimes to get my aim right. I know what I'm trying to do, but sometimes I can't quite get it right, and it's very tilting when I know who I was trying to aim to, but because my mouse was a few centimeters in the wrong direction, it gets tossed to the wrong person. So, with all of that set up and set aside, let us begin our campaign. It's one of the most beautiful title cards I've seen in my time. The art in Pyre is absolutely out of this world. Supergiant Games absolutely deserves every award they get, and then some. Your days in the downside brought slow, lonesome agony. Now as you lie, yielding to the elements, something rumbles into view. 3 shapes emerge, each clad in strange attire. You may find that some words will be glowing, that indicates that there is flavor text available to explain itself. So the downside is a vast purgatory into which the Commonwealth casts its convicts and its enemies. That is our current setting.
Vithalios. Doesn't dear my shake.
Mukiri sasta.
Karami kakisei.
Persona te chamo.
Now this is a subtle and brilliant way of selecting your character's gender. And because Supergiant Games is so excellent, they acknowledge non-binary gender identities, or at least giving you the option to reject the binary. In this particular instance, because I'm going to try to recreate what I consider my canon playthrough, what I prefer to imagine as the Pyre canon, I will be playing as a female reader.
Sugrina.
Simpragiuntis.
Tereulios. Mazamushan. Tistos. Hogita perdeosta mashe. Silama tuchem.
So I don't intend on reading aloud all of the flavor text and all of the narration. And I certainly don't intend on doing character voices, because it is voice acted very, very barely, and I don't want to dishonor the performances of those actors. However, I will endeavor to make sure that I will hover over the flavor text options so that people have the option to pause the video, read it over at their leisure. And if you don't care about it, then you can just not pause the video.
Critanaste.
Agnosenta. Ugravitasta.
Jojariel.
Shenasenta.
I was going to say that she's probably one of my favorite characters, but it's pretty much impossible to tell favorites apart in this game. They're all such wonderful characters.
Ah.
And of course,
Solicente dia.
Ruki.
Tereso.
Sala haladium.
Mo benestasi. Disa. Honestasi.
So, for those who have not played Pyre before, you can see from this flavor text that reading is actually something quite interesting in this world. It's been prohibited for centuries, and being capable of literacy is grounds for exile, which is how our character landed here. Now, of course, this is something of a choose-your-own-adventure game to a small extent, and so we have options here. Because of the nature of my character, we will admit to being readers. However, other characters may choose to deny it because they don't want others to know that they're a reader, or, and this is a recurring thing throughout the game, you have the option to just remain silent. It's almost possible to play throughout the majority of the game without actually saying a single thing. However, our character has a bit more verbosity to her than that.
Magrin.
Ligaratus.
Now, you'll notice that she actually just said a word, Ligoratus, and that's not an actual word, but it is part of a small constructed language that the game's developers put together. Ligoratus is the term for a reader, and so it's one word that you hear quite often. You can certainly look online. There was a Twitter thread or a Reddit thread, I can't remember which, where one of the developers talked about it to a limited extent. It's certainly not a full constructed language. It's only a few words, but I just wanted to make that shout out to really praise Supergiant Games for their devotion to the small details, because little things like that really give a lot of depth to this world.
Cogitenta.
We'll have a look. And this is where things get interesting. Found in materials you do not recognize. This is actually the flesh of an eldritch monstrosity, but we'll get into that later. You, dear reader, are an exile of the downside, such as we, the 8 who wrote this Book of Rites. That you possess it and have capacity to glean its words is a testament enough to your potential. Thus we reveal a path from this forsaken place to freedom, a homecoming in glory. That's the only part of this that I'll read. You can read the rest of it, but I wanted to emphasize that this book is the MacGuffin of the game. And because Supergiant Games is awesome, they also include a more accessible form of reading this book. Oblige the voice that tells you more. That's an important line that comes up. You'll see why in a moment.
Chi sentirna?
Reader!
Reader!
Dare you tamper with forbidden knowledge? So soon after your sentence into exile. 'Tis true what the book says. You can be free again. Perhaps not you yourself, but someone worthy of the privilege. You witness now the path toward salvation. You witness the rights.
The rights!
The
So,
one way to return to glory. Though in your case, I hardly think it possible. Yet, by the grace of the scribes, it is my duty to inform you anyhow.
so that was the voice, the most insufferable bastard in all of Pyre. Well, just about. There are definitely several insufferable bastards, but I personally consider the voice to be probably close to the top, if not at the top. You will learn more about the voice, because there are probably going to be people watching this who haven't played Pyre before. I'll hold my tongue regarding more details about the voice, but just know that he is a very interesting character.
Loricata.
Oh, man.
Veretusta.
We have to put our faith in her. Another recurring concept.
Barosta.
Ratana.
Oh, Hedwyn. Can you see why I ship my female reader with Hedwyn? Complicated as they may be, as you may find out. So this is the actual gameplay sequence of Pyre.
A celestial orb falls from the heavens when the time is nigh.
I will go through the
Exiles
training,
conduct the rites as a triumvirate.
so that those who have not played
Prove
before
their trust in one another,
can see what it's like.
not just in themselves. The three must act as one. Now plunge into the pyre with the orb and be purified. Yes, the exile rookie has the way of it. Whoever steps into the flame is banished for a time. His or her cohorts must make do on their own.
So the primary reason...
But it is
Oh,
not
right.
so simple. In the rites you shall face adversaries whose own freedom is at stake.
So that's where it gets a little complicated.
Beware the aura that surrounds them, as they shall beware yours.
So the main reason that I'm going through training is because it's easier for the voice to explain all this than for me to try explaining it as I play to people who have not played before. So that's where it begins to get tricky, is that in these rights for freedom, you are competing against others. Not everyone can walk away free. Now, in a lot of cases, you don't really care about that. In most cases, the people you're going up against are pretty insufferable and you don't feel bad at all about shorting them. However, there is a diverse cast, with a lot of different characters, some of which may deserve their freedom a bit more than others, and arguably more than you and your companions. But we'll get into that later. For right now, I'm going to go on with the training.
The aura is your wrongdoing. Accept it as a part of you.
So auras and such are the offensive elements of the game, and defensive, sort of. You can use them to
Cast
defend.
your aura like a stone.
This is the real offensive element, is casting your aura.
Again. Just so. A glorious performance, I admit. More than I expected from the likes of you. Grasp the orb once more. The orb absorbs the aura, then the orb quenches the flame. Now I say jump. Leap with all your strength.
So the exiles all take
Now
turns.
snuff out the adversary's pyre whilst yours yet burns. The fire of resolve.
I'm kind of a big Rookie fan. So it's a nice way of balancing the game out, where the triumvirate in the lead on the offense
Sublime.
loses a team member for a round, while those on the defense get to keep all three.
Resplendent.
Of course, it doesn't always matter, because some of us are just that good at the game.
Oh,
And there's
the
that.
rite is complete. There, dear reader. Now you understand.
This is my
Or
favorite
do you?
sequence in this part of the game.
This was but a glimpse of that which lies ahead. I would tell you to turn back, cast down your hope. But all those such as you never listen.
What a great opening to a game, am I right?